Hello, welcome to a quick intro video. This is mostly intended for people who've never taken part in one of these book groups before. If you've never done it, this is, I think, our sixth or seventh year of doing these, where I've been hosting these to the NCTA. So, welcome. All right, so our book group, as you already know, is called Strong Women of East Asia, but I included a little picture here for a specific reason. I don't think we necessarily need to say Strong Women of East Asia, but I included that to try and grab your attention a little bit with the name of the book group. All right, so quick overview. What we're going to be covering in this video is how the course is structured, what you need to know in general for the course, as well as previewing the readings. Before I get to any of that, though, what I'd like to do is have you take a minute at some point, whether it's right now or in the near future, and examine the images you have in your mind already about women of East Asia. What kind of stereotypes, what kind of mental images, what do you have? Now, we get a lot of our images, a lot of our stereotypes from movies, TV shows, books. I can't tell you how many people I come across that pretty much their entire view of geisha from Japan comes from Memoirs of a Geisha, which is a piece of fiction written by an American. And, well, there's a lot to say about that. Anyhow, so take some time, think about that. When it comes to peeling back some of that and looking at women of East Asia, almost think of it like a lot of people have their image of women from East Asia. They're like those Russian nesting dolls that you have to turn them, pull them apart, and then there's more of the dolls on the inside. So it's a lot like that. The image we have is very superficial, very simple, uh, and then if we dive into it, it's hollow on the inside. There's real no substance there. So I want you to think about whether it's an image of the filial good daughter or the good wife or the good mother, or maybe the angry, overbearing stepmother that are often images we have from East Asia, the quiet, subservient person, or even recently we've had a lot more kung fu movies and military movies where we've got this very flat, often warrior woman, very two dimensional usually, or even geisha, as I mentioned before. We tend to look at them as these kind of artistic looking people with the dress and the makeup and the dancing, the music, but what's deeper, what's beyond that. So I want you to take some time, think about what images you have, uh, and then as we read, feel free to comment on how things have changed or been supported or challenged or whatever. All right, so our book group structure here. We've got 6 weeks, 3 weeks per book. Now the books aren't that long, and they're not, written at too high of a lexile level. In fact, both of these books could easily be applied in the classroom. But I spanned it out for 3 weeks per book to give you time to really digest, especially the first book, Sin Ran's Good Women of China. It can get a little heavy as the book, not can, it does get heavy as the book goes on. So took some time to kind of pace it out a little bit, time to digest it, time to really interact with it. We have a discussion board. Everything is run on our Google website. The link to that was sent to you in an email after you've registered for the book group. So please answer at least 2 of those discussion posts over the weekend. And then what happens is during the course of the next week, I will respond to every single person's postings. If you don't get a response from me, feel free to email me and I will go back. Sometimes I might miss somebody. We'll have an optional Zoom call at the end of each book, chance for us to get together, talk about things, any questions you might have, any reactions you might have. If you want to just pose questions to kind of a think tank to everyone's there, how might I use this in the classroom or whatever, by all means, it's a great time for us to talk kind of in person, virtually in person. And then with the first book, Sinran has tentatively agreed to try and join us for that book group, at least a little bit in that Zoom call. So that should be a lot of fun if she's able to make it. There'll be optional materials on our website. You can look at those. They might help add some depth, some fill into that nesting doll analogy that I was using earlier. And then as far as the CEUs go, so once everything's done and I've confirmed that you've done all 6 weeks of postings, I then send that information to the people at the NCTA program. They compile that list, do whatever it is that they need to do to then send you the CEUs. If you have not gotten those within a month or so of the book group being done, please feel free to reach out to me and I will try and get to the bottom of that. All right, so our readings, two main books, Sinran's The Good Women of China. Sinran was working as a radio personality in the late 80s, early 90s in China. Things were starting to loosen up a bit in China. And she kind of comes up with this topic of what does it mean to be a woman in China? Huge, huge topic for any country, really. But then you look at how big China is, how many different cultures there are in China. And then you think about how for so long people weren't really able to move around in China. You were kind of restricted unless you had permission to go to other places. And then you've got other things, just the norms of things you don't talk about because they were cultural norms or family norms or whatever. So it's a huge, huge concept that she's trying to tackle. And at this time, we also have this massive development going on in China. We have women who are now business women starting to pop up, not to the extent that we have today, but still, it's changing. What does it mean to be a woman in China? So this book, one of the things I really like about it, it's not a nonstop front cover to cover, front to back story. It's split up into pieces, which make it really easy to pull out chunks to use in the classroom. It does get heavier as the book goes on, though. So just kind of keep that in mind that even though you could read a whole section in just a day, I I would recommend maybe spacing out a little bit, especially that last third of the book. And then A Thousand Miles to Freedom, Yeon Sung Kim. She was born in North Korea. As a very little child, she was dealing with the Great Famine in North Korea. Sorry. Without giving too much away, she and her family escape North Korea. They spend a fair bit of time in China and eventually make it to South Korea. From South Korea, she goes to college, and then she'll have the opportunity to travel to a lot of other places, including Europe and the United States. So this book is a wonderful, wonderful book written by a very wonderful person that endured quite a bit to get where she is. And she just recently celebrated the birth of her second child, I believe. So, yay. All right. And then the supplemental materials, like I said, they're on the website. Some things you can look at. One of the additional materials that you'll find on there, and I would encourage everyone to open this up and check it out. It's a communal document, chance for everyone to kind of share additional resources they have that they've come across, they use along the same topic. And finally, here, if you ever have any questions, any tech problems, any issues, whatever, feel free to email me at any time. My email is on our website, and also I emailed you the link to the website, so you should have it. And if you're interested, part 2 of the group. So part 1 is looking at North Korea and China. Part 2 is going to look at South Korea and Japan with 2 different memoirs. You don't need to be in part 1 to take part 2, vice versa. So please feel free to share the information, the registration with anyone that you know. The more the merrier.